again. So I just made a YouTube short that I wanted to do. And I was going to do this tomorrow, but I have time now because I'm still at the skate park. Because again, I'm always at the skate park, but I love that my son is outside and getting exercise and like trying new things with new tricks and stuff, because like I think it's awesome. And who knows, maybe he'll be the next Tony Hawk. Like, I doubt it because he doesn't take enough risk, but which I probably shouldn't encourage my son to take risks. I don't know. But anyway, I was just wanting to pop in again and share a little bit more of my writing. And if, I don't know if you're liking the story or not. I don't know. But I just wanted to share more. And I actually remembered where I left off this time. And so without further ado, I'm going to do some reading. All right. So to kind of recap, so this new military team has been formed with a SEAL, a Marine, Air Force PJ, and which is a pararescue jumper. It's like the Air Force's it's like the Air Force's Navy SEALs. It's the Air Force's Special Forces. They're pretty hardcore. And so they got formed, and so they're doing the introductions and stuff because Vatu, the colonel guy, the leader, wants them to know each other, all that good stuff, and then Sparrow gets triggered because of this terrible thing that happened to her, and HJ tells them all about it, and then they go find her, and she, kind of works through it and stuff, and then they finish their yoga flow that they were doing. Okay, so 30 minutes later, the team had finished their flow and was rolling up their mats. Sparrow, have you found a good yoga studio in this city yet? Trigger asked, putting the straps back on his yoga mat. You bet your chiseled booty I have, Sparrow replied, putting her own mat in his carrying case. That's the first thing I did when I found out I was being stationed here. It's called Even Breath Yoga. It's got several hot yoga studios and tons of various classes to choose from. Oh, good, Trigger said, smiling. I love me some hot yoga. And you think my booty is chiseled? Brother, that thing was in my face for the last 45 minutes, Sparrow told him dryly. You could cut a diamond with that thing. Thanks, I think, Trigger said, laughing and shaking his head. Batu clapped his hands again and then made a circle motion. All right, guys, circle up. Crisscross applesauce. There were several stifled groans, but the four teammates quickly sat in a circle. We never finished our introductions. Triple, do you feel like up to sharing? Vatu asked, his voice gentle. Oh yeah, I'm good now, Colonel, Sparrow said, grinning. There's nothing like beating the shit out of 3 highly trained soldiers, or airmen in your case, sir. A yoga flow and a hysterical cry to boost one out of a PTSD episode. Anyway, hi, I'm Sparrow, or Triple Play, and variations thereof, or Crazy Chris, or Chris Ali, or keep that psychotic bitch away from me. It kind of depends on who you ask. HJ, Trigger, and Geek all sniggered while Vatu suppressed a smile. We were told to be vulnerable and open earlier, so here I go, Sparrow continued, taking a deep breath. I don't think the twins know this because they were just little and I didn't want to burden them with my trauma, but the other two do. When I was 5 years old, my entire family was murdered in front of me. There were these IRA radicals that wanted me dad to build them something. He was a scientist of some kind. I'm not sure what. He refused, and we moved into the country, away from everyone and everything. My dad thought we were safe, but we weren't. They found us. When Dad still refused to help them, they killed my family one by one, starting with my twin brother. You had a twin? Geek exclaimed in surprise. Trigger's head also snapped up. She had never told them that. Yeah, Sparrow said, swallowing the pain. His name was Kiernan. We were inseparable. They shot him in the head right next to me. His blood sprayed all over my face. Damn, Sparrow, Trigger interrupted, concern on his face. Why the hell didn't you tell us any of this? I told you, Sparrow replied, her voice low. I didn't want to burden you with my trauma. You were 5 when we met. In fact, bad things happen when you're 5. Hey, big guy, weren't you 5 when you were kidnapped? Yes, Aisha said, his voice tight. And thank you for bringing that up, by the way. It's going to come up anyway, Sparrow said, brushing it off with a wave of her hand. We're all being vulnerable here, remember? Can we get back to the story? Geek asked, voice slightly whiny. Batu sighed internally. This much history between people made it hard to stay on track. So then they shot my mom, Sparrow continued conversationally, doing what she had taught herself to do since she was small, compartmentalize and pretend it all happened to someone else. And I got angry. I got so angry. I wasn't even scared anymore. There was this white-hot electricity shooting through every nerve I had, and then everything got clear. It's like a switch flipped. I saw everything, and I knew what to do. I bit the man holding me, threw a bottle of whiskey into the fire, and I ran. I heard the shot that killed my dad, and felt the bullets fly by my head as I ducked and weaved. The only thing I could think of was how much they needed to die. So I saw their helicopter, the one with the fancy guns attached to it, and I got in, and I looked at all the switches and dials, and everything just made sense. Mom had been teaching me. She used to fly, but I had never seen a chopper like this before. But it all seemed to click, so I fired it up, and I took aim, and I just blasted everyone away. And I laughed. I was cutting guys in half with the 50 caliber bullets, and I laughed. My uncle pulled up in time to see me cut down the last of the bad guys, or at least I thought I got everyone. That would come back to bite me later. Word had gotten to him that the IRA was after his baby sister's family, and he came to save her. Just her, mind you, not her Jap husband and children. But when he saw me laughing my head off while absolutely annihilating the men that killed my family, he saw potential. He took me in and trained me up as a hitter. He realized he hit the jackpot when he found out how smart I was. By the time I was 9, I had streamlined his entire operation. By 12, I was practically running it, along with my own airplane design company. We had started it as a way to launder money, but it became very lucrative. Probably because I designed all the airplanes and they were better than anything on the market to date. I was obsessed with flying. Always have been. After my uncle saw what I did in the helicopter, he got me flying lessons. I flew his people around all the time. Imagine their surprise when their pilot was 7. I had also killed a lot more people by then. What's the name of your airplane company? Trigger asked, intrigued. He was finding out a lot of stuff he didn't know. Eggplant Air, Sparrow replied with a straight face. Really? Geek and Trigger asked together, eyebrows raised. No, Sparrow said, shaking her head at them. What the hell do you think it's called? It's called Sparrow Industries. You created Sparrow Industries? Geek breathed, eyes wide. I own Sparrow Industries, Sparrow said, folding her arms with a smirk. But that's, spluttered Geek, that's a multi-billion-dollar company. Yeah, I'm super rich, Sparrow said, as if she had been commenting on the weather. Are you kidding me? Trigger exclaimed, eyes still wide. No, Sparrow told him, shrugging. Do you know how I said a little earlier about all the doctoring and the murdering and how it kept the food on the table? Well, I lied. Technically, I didn't have to do any of that stuff. It was just fun. You were insane, Geek explained, throwing up his hands. Well, yeah, Sparrow agreed, nodding emphatically. That's what that one doctor said that one time. But then I killed him, so I don't know if what he said is admissible anymore. Would you stop confessing to murders? H.J. hissed at her, jerking his head at Fatu and the twins. Oh, they won't do anything about it, Sparrow said, brushing it off and folding her arms. And besides, if they do, I'll just kill them too. Trigger began laughing, then stopped it at Sparrow's serious face. You wouldn't really kill a Sparrow, would you? He asked, looking slightly concerned. I don't know, Sparrow said with a shrug and a raised eyebrow. Would I? You're joking, right? Trigger asked and turned to H.J. She's joking, right? You honestly never know with her, H.J. sighed, shaking his head. She would never kill her little brothers, Fatu assured Trigger. She spent too long mourning you to ever lose you again. She tattooed your name and the date of your deaths on her biceps. Well, I tattooed that on her biceps. Colonel, you were a tattoo artist? H.J. asked, intrigued. Am a tattoo artist, Fatu replied. I do it part-time out of my basement just for fun. You really got our names tattooed on you? Geek asked, touched in spite of himself. He knew Sparrow. He knew that she didn't put anything on her skin that didn't have immense meaning. He wished he could see the tattoos, but she was wearing a pastel purple, skin-tight, long-sleeve shirt, which was weird now that he thought about it. She never used to wear hardly anything at all, especially doing yoga, but today she was covered from neck to toes. Back to the topic at hand, Fatu interrupted, bringing them all back once again. Why, Sparrow? Why, Sparrow? You went from it when you were with me, which I can only guess was because you were trying to forget who you were with your brothers, but it sounded like you liked the name Sparrow before you met the twins. It's what my brother called me, Sparrow replied, smiling nostalgically. His little Sparrow. Why? H.J. asked, not having heard this part of the story. Because I told him I was going to fly like the house sparrows in our barn, Sparrow said. Not having inherited the brains I did, and being a normal four-year-old at the time, he took that as me telling him that I could fly like the sparrows, and not that I was going to do it like an airplane as a job for the rest of my life. So he said, prove it. Obviously, I said, bet, and took a running leap out of the barn loft, screaming, I'm a sparrow! Did you fly? Geek asked with a sardonic smile. No, I broke my arm, you ding-dong, Sparrow said seriously, but she couldn't help letting a smile crack through. So when did you meet the twins? Fatu asked, carefully clocking the timeline. They all seemed to hinge around Sparrow, and he wanted to know exactly how and why. When I was 12, Sparrow said, back to business, my uncle had sent me into Dublin for some R&R, and damn it if I didn't run into the cutest little Americans I ever did see. Geek, you pick up the story from here, Fatu ordered, wanting to see the jilted Geek side of things. He eyed Sparrow subtly. Something about her voice the last time she spoke bothered him. She was lying. and he didn't think it was the part about running into the cutest little Americans she had ever seen. We were in Dublin because our mom had won an all-expense-paid trip from her job, Geek started, and then furrowed his brows and turned to Trigger. I think, right? Isn't that why we were there? Something like that, Trigger agreed. I just remember being super excited to be on an airplane for that long. You were airsick for half of it, remember? Oh yeah, I'd forgotten about that, Geek mused, then cleared his throat. Anyway, we were at a street fair or something like that, and Trigger and I wandered away from our parents. There were these guys with a cat in a cage, and they were being mean to it. I told them to stop, but they just laughed at me. Trigger and I tried to get the cat away from them, but they pushed us down and then threw the cat with the cage with the cat in it into the street. I ran to get the cat, Trigger ran after me, and the only thing I remember is a car coming right at us, and then we were shoved out of the way and onto the sidewalk by a girl with long black hair. That was me, Sparrow volunteered, raising a hand. We got that, Sparrow, H.J. said, rolling his eyes. She made sure we were okay, then went to have words with the guys who had been torturing the cat. The memory is a little fuzzy, buddy, Trigger said, furrowing his brows, but I'm pretty sure she did more than just have words with them. I broke their kneecaps, Sparrow confirmed with a shrug. They had just tried to kill 2 little boys and a cat. It's the least I could do. You're a terrifying 12-year-old, Trigger said appreciatively. I'm terrifying at any age, Sparrow replied, winking. Geek just huffed a sigh and went on. Sparrow helped us find our parents, and they were super happy to see us. I don't know why, but Sparrow hung out with us for the rest of the day. My dad was on the phone a lot. Sparrow looked away, not letting her face betray the guilt she was feeling. Geek and Trigger's parents had been worried about her, a lone 12-year-old in a big city. They had made sure she stayed with them while they tried to find her parents. She didn't have parents, obviously, and she didn't want her uncle involved, mostly for the nice little family's health and safety, so she had given them the number of a nice old Japanese man she knew, who only spoke Japanese. She figured that would delay them enough until she could disappear. The thing was, she hadn't wanted to disappear. She enjoyed being with the little family. It gave her a glimpse of how normal kids lived. She should have left, though. She should have left and never come back. Did you ever think they were maybe worried about the random 12-year-old that showed up in the middle of a big city? H.G. asked in an obvious tone. He was probably on the phone trying to find her parents or something. Sparrow nodded and made a little finger gun at him. Geek cocked his head, thoughtful. Honestly, I never thought of that. Anyway, Sparrow showed us around the city to some really cool places that apparently only locals knew. She came to our bed and breakfast with us and taught us all a new card game. My parents wanted her to stay, but she said she had to go. They told her how long we were going to be there and said she was welcome to come again, any time. The next morning, we were robbed. Me and Trigger hid under the bed, and there was muffled yelling and gunshots, and the Sparrow was there again. She found us under the bed, crying, and she hugged us and said everything was going to be okay. She said she had been coming back to say hi, and she heard the gunshots. She let us out of the house and covered our eyes when we went past the living room. I don't remember a lot after that. I just remember another plane ride, but this time we were surrounded by baggage, and then we were back in America. My uncle had wanted me to head up the American side of our business, Sparrow cut in. At first I didn't want to, but with what would happen with the twins' parents, I didn't want them to be stuck in a foreign country in limbo as the authorities tried to find their next of kin, so I took the job and brought them with me. Again, Vatu felt instinctively that Sparrow wasn't telling the whole truth. So what, you guys just lived happily ever after that? H.J. asked, looking from the twins to Sparrow. Not quite, Trigger said grimly. There was an issue when we first got back. We got taken into custody and separated. I don't know what happened to Sparrow and Geek, but I got put in a lousy foster home. They were always mad at me, and I couldn't do anything right. I broke a plate once, and they locked me in the cupboard under the sink for 3 days. I don't know how, but Sparrow found me. I heard a loud bang, and later I found out that it was her shooting the lock off the cupboard. And then she opened the cupboard, and light was everywhere, and there she was, grinning at me. I thought she was an angel. First and last time anyone ever mistook me as that, Sparrow muttered, looking anywhere but at Trigger. She had a gun in her hand and shot my foster father in the leg before she forced them both into a closet and barricaded them in. And then she carried me out, gun still in hand. And that's when I knew I wanted to learn everything I could about firearms. I was never going to let someone shove me in a cupboard again. What happened to the foster parents? H.A. asked, feeling terrible for Trigger. No kid should have to endure that. The guy slowly bled out, by design, before help could arrive, Sparrow said darkly. The woman later met a terrible accident involving a starving pack of dogs. I didn't know that, Trigger said in surprise, staring at Sparrow. No one messes with my boys. Geek looked as if he wanted to say something, but thought better of it. Trigger didn't know what to say at all, so he continued with his and Geek's story. So, it's 14 minutes long. I don't want this to get too long, so I'm going to end there, but, if you like it, I'm going to keep doing it, and if you want to watch the videos, you can watch the videos. But yeah, so, I encourage you, like, I've been saying, to take time and write, and it doesn't have to be this. It can be, like I said, like I've been saying, anything, a journal, or, I've been writing in my journal as well. That's just what I do. I just write. But yeah, so anyway, have a great day. Bye.